Ladies and gentlemen, today for the Pop Culture Roundup, I wanted to give a broad overview of not just Bravo, which we heard so much of, I'm sure, today, even though I haven't recorded it yet, just because of all of the events that have continued to happen this weekend, even though I've asked for them not to. There are other things in the pop culture landscape that I find just as fascinating, and my guest finds them just as fascinating as well. Now, her account is called Brands by Bravo, but we're going to talk a hair about Bravo, but we're going to actually talk about a show that we both love called Welcome to Plathville on TLC, where insanity is happening over there. And I need you guys to know about it and pay attention to it and get on board. Danielle from Brands by Bravo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's a mouthful.
You were at BravoCon. I have not recovered. How was your BravoCon experience? By the way, this is what's so funny. I was at BravoCon. I'm in the panels, and I think I was reading your account to catch me up on panels that I was at. That I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I guess I just saw. Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I've ever posted as much in one day as I did my day at BravoCon.
Oh, it was a mess. I mean, a great mess. Did you have a good time?
I did, yeah. The day went far better than I thought, and
wait, for you personally, or you just for the show itself?
Probably both.
Okay.
And I just thank God every day I went to the Salt Lake City panel because I'm not sure I will ever get over that.
I didn't get to go to that, and that's what the notes I read, I think, was from your account.
Oh yeah, I was taking notes during the events and then posting them after. Yeah.
So you guys, like I saw the next day at the Ultimate Girls Trip panel that obviously, but I found out from your account that Whitney and Heather, I mean, there's truly bad blood there.
It was at one moment during their fighting, because they were all fighting with each other. I just kept thinking, I'm like, do they realize they are on stage with like 1,500 people watching them? Like, I thought at one moment they would be like, you know what, let's be professional and reel it in and like put this to this. But they kept going. And the crowd, it was like a WWE match. This girl in front of me was like, get her, Whitney.
But
and like,
don't you think though that means like they're at the height of their power, like I'm like,
absolutely,
they're ready to film, let's go. Like,
oh my gosh, yes. And poor Karama was like, what, I'm like moderating this, like, he did a fantastic job though. He was actually
Karamo, I think, did better than Brad Goreski for the Beverly Hills panel.
Agree, but that's because if I had some like nitpicky things, I think they needed to do a better job with some of their panel picking, like who was the moderator.
That's exactly what I said. That's
enough to control the crowd, to control the dumb questions that were being asked. Like in Jersey, one girl was like, Frank, can you make a shout out to my friend? And like ran up with the camera and the crowd booed her. We're like, this is not what this moment is for. Like,
somebody asked Andy to sign their arm so they could get a tattoo. And I was like, finally, we get the answer to that question that we've all been waiting for.
I needed the moderators to be like, absolutely not. Next question.
I totally agree. And the thing is, it's a difficult, tricky job, I'm sure, because you don't want to give enough, like you don't want to give too much because you want to save it for the show. But at the same time, you want to get enough. And that's why I heard the Salt Lake panel was so good, because they went all the way, and like Karamo they were really going.
Yeah. And Karamo knows how to deal with people fighting. He does it, and like emotions, and he has a new talk show. So he was probably the best moderator I saw, because someone did ask a question about Jen Shaw and he shut it down because I guess they weren't allowed to answer that.
Okay.
Someone asked.
Well, I was at the hotel and saw her dancing. I was at the party where she was dancing.
Oh my
and I was
gosh.
like, this is insane. Like she was dancing like she didn't have a care in the world. And I was jealous, not because I was jealous because like she was doing that dance where you like you have to have really strong knees for, where she was like dropping to the floor and getting back up. And I was like forget Jen Shaw. I was just like, those knees, man, my knee would give out like that.
Yeah.
So you saw the Salt Lake panel. And by the way, go, if you don't, you follow her already, but if you don't, go follow her, because it's not snarky like my account can be. I mean, it's funny, but it's not snarky, and there's a lot of information. So it provides a service. And I always think you got to support those accounts a lot more than some of like the snark that I do or something like that. Like I provide good humor, or that's arguable, but you got to like, it's really good information. If you really want to keep up on the minutia, go follow her account. I since I have you here, I do just have to ask before we get to Plathville, what is your take on all of the crap this weekend with the Rinna and the IP and the Diana and the reunion? Like, what do you have any overall thought on this?
The whole thing is a mess. Do I think it's actually Rinna? I don't know.
I think it's
Do I
somebody
think
in
she
the
probably-
orbit. I don't
yes,
think
it's someone
I
in the
don't think it's
orbit.
her. I think the person seems like, well, the woke Stan person that has now gotten involved, like they're really mean and horrible. It seems like they're just a really hateful person, but they're a decent writer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they
And-
also wrote child, like, ooh, child. And like,
Yeah,
Rinna
by
just
the way,
does not know
if
that
Lisa's
slang.
doing like blackface, like Twitter accounts, that's like even more disturbing than anything I've ever seen in
Agree.
my life.
That alone, like, who was it? Didn't Kathy write on someone's comment once and asked, like, why does everyone keep writing chili? And like, she didn't, like, Rinna does not know what that terminology means.
But I love that people are like, sort of like, oh, it has to be Rinna. It's like, they have people that can do it for them. Like, do you think, like, I mean, how easy it is to get somebody else, like, yeah, I want to do this, but you do it for me. And the person who is behind this one account, like, it's easy for me to say that. I'm like, wow, too bad they hate so much, because I kind of think they're a decent writer, like if they could really use this for good, it would be cool. But it's gotten to a point where it scares me,
Agree. I mean, to me, with the having people do stuff for you, it's like LVP and the Radar Online. I don't think she called, but I think someone in her team called, and it's the same.
But we do that in our average everyday lives too. Is that like, I didn't, like if my mom told me to go do a chore, but I actually didn't do it, but I paid my sister $5 to do it, it still counts as my chore. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's a mess. Last year we had to learn to be lawyers, and this year we have to learn to be hackers, I guess, in terms of
I mean, the fact that someone went in and get the IP address and all of that.
I was like, I listen like API. I'm like, things that I'm like, can't somebody just get into gardening? I'd like to get into gardening.
I know.
I'd love to learn about that. Okay, so Bravo, but overall, what do you think the state of Bravo is now? Do you think it's strong? Are you still as excited to watch Bravo as you've always been?
Oh, it's definitely strong. I mean, it's clear with what's happening with New York, like tides are changing, and new shows I feel like are becoming the best ones that maybe weren't previously. Like in my opinion, Salt Lake and Potomac are the two best series right now. and not that the others are bad, but they're just, it gets a little stale, when you have, like, I love Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, no, like Beverly Hills, it's like, you're like, come on, guys, I'm ready for like it to be over. When I watch Potomac, I watch it with a smile on my face.
Too.
I don't even realize I'm smiling, and then I'm like, it's just like comforting. And Beverly Hills, I'm just like dreading, and I can't wait for it to be over. So
it's exhausting, Beverly Hills.
What's your take on New York, actually, with the new cast? Are you happy?
I'm absolutely going to give it a chance. I saw an interview clip with Ramona, and she was like, why are you even having the legacy show? Obviously you don't want us. She called it like the loser legacy. And I kind of agree with that. Like, I love Real Housewives of New York so much. I'm actually doing like a rewatch podcast with my friend Sue on New York.
Oh yeah.
Like,
wait. What's this podcast? And it has it. Yeah. Give me your podcast information. What are you talking about?
Sorry. It's Real Housewives of Rewatch, and we're rewatching New York. We're on season 2. And
okay. Real
York,
Housewives of Rewatch. We can find that on. So you just type that into your thing and automatically give them 5 stars, you guys. But go check out that podcast. Why didn't you lead with that? What are you talking about? Oh my God. That's promote your podcast.
When you watch old New York, it's like, this is why it was the greatest franchise. But I don't want to say I'm done with it, but I'm excited to see different things. Like, I'm excited to see the Luann and Sonia show. And if we don't spend the whole time talking about Tom, maybe there is a space for them to come back. But if it's the same sort of rehashing, I don't know. But I'm absolutely.
I don't think enough people are talking about the Sonia Luann show where they go visit the Testicle Festival. You guys,
yes,
and
that
it sounds
clip
like I'm
was
making
amazing.
a joke. But it's like they showed a whole trailer of that you can find online. But I mean, somebody made the point too of like the New York cast. There's a lot of influencers in the new cast.
I don't
and all
like
that stuff. Well, but then now look at this from an advertising standpoint. You got to get those advertising dollars, and some of these ladies, I hate to say it because I would watch any aged lady. Like I used to watch the Golden Girls and loved it like nothing else. But they were saying that Bravo is courting a younger audience with going with influencers and ladies like that.
I agree. It gives me the same feeling. I'm a big Bachelor watcher. And when you find out someone was cast on The Bachelor with like a huge following versus someone who literally like is a nobody, it just gives you more authentic feeling to their intentions. So we'll see. I'm absolutely open.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as Bravo fans, like, let's just be open. Like, you know what? Like, we can, like, let's just be open and let's support the shows like Real Girlfriends of Paris. Like, it might not be your jam, but support it because it gets better as it goes. And we want these things to have second seasons and third. Remember, Summer House didn't even really get good till the third season. Potomac got really good in the third season. You got to let shows, room to grow. So we got to support those. Okay. I was rushing.
My one last thing on New York that I have to say, as a New Yorker myself, the only qualm that I will have is I've not done a deep dive on them. I don't know how New York these people are, or did they just move there? Because I have thoughts on that. See, that might affect how I feel. No.
I also think they're like, I want Bravo laws. Like, I feel like you need to show tax returns from like for politicians, they have to move like that Dr. Oz, like he's trying to run in Philadelphia. He doesn't even live in Philadelphia, and it's like, you need to live in New York and by the way, I hate to break everybody's heart, but like Kyle and all those people live in Encino. Like, they don't even live in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Like what I would kill for like a Real Housewives of New York to be from Staten Island, something like that. Like that's what I wanted to see. And I don't know if these women are that.
I'll go even one more step. I want them all to live on the same block.
That would be same building.
To live on the same.
An only murders version.
By the way, that's where this is headed, by the way, a murder mystery season at one point. Somebody will die in the first episode. We'll be solving it the whole time. Okay. Now there is a show. Will you explain to the people what this show, Welcome to Plathville, is about on TLC if you can?
Yes, it's my favorite non-Bravo reality show. And I feel as though you and I are the true influencers behind getting people to watch it, because the amount of messages I get from people, they're like, you're the reason I started watching this. But anyway, it started a family of, 9 children or 10 children?
I've lost count. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how many, like 9 or 10 children. And they lived on a farm in Georgia, and they were super religious, and they didn't drink soda or watch TV or have any knowledge of anything pop culture. And it's just followed them. And since season 1, the amount of things that have changed and evolved and grown, because the kids have gotten older and they moved out of the house and now they've been on TV. And it's absolutely, it's just.
What season is this now that we just ended?
I think was it 3 or 4?
So the first season, kind of like, not coasted, but it was like really fascinating to watch people that were not touched by any kind of social media or anything like that. And they were really pure. And this family had like, these ideals, obviously, that they stood behind. And then slowly through the seasons, we've seen all of that chip away. And the most disturbing part of this season was that Kim and Barry, the two parents, they were, married, and they had this way of life, is that Kim pulled away from Barry and like started like a dance studio,
found herself through dance,
as we all do at some point. We find our way through dance or ourselves.
There's been 4 seasons, by the way. I just looked it up.
They live in a tiny town. What's the town they live in? It's not Ukiah. It's like a tiny town, but she opened a dance studio in a tiny town, and I'm like, how many people could possibly be taking this dance class you're teaching?
I don't, it's not Athens, Georgia. I forget.
No, it's even some of that. But
and the whole thing that I find fascinating about the show, because I feel like especially season 1 and 2, it's like, when you can see the cracks of people being fake on camera to be like, we are this beautiful, happy family.
Yeah.
And just you and I are watching, we're like, I spell nonsense. Like, absolutely not. Is that what this family is? And as the seasons have gone on,
it's just fighting that has ensued, falling apart. Like,
absolutely falling apart.
The one son had already gotten married to a girl that she's a photographer. She's hit or miss on if people like her or not. But I mean, I like her, but she's like dealing with a kid that was raised with no kind of knowledge of anything. So his big like hobby is spending all his money on used cars to like tinker around on. It's like or like buy a bike, but he won't ask her and he'll just spend the money. And she's trying to teach him ways to live. And then the one guy that I had on, the modelly kid, what's his name? Micah's been on this show, you guys. He wants to be an actor and he's a model. And then Mariah is like she wants to be a singer, and she was dating this guy, and the guy kind of cheated on her in a weird way at a friend's work party. And this is like a small town stuff. Each one of these people are going through something. But then this week, you guys, the mom, Kim, got busted for DUI.
Wild. So I read the article. So actually this happened in June.
Yeah,
but she was in a car accident, and they did a blood. I guess she refused to do like a breathalyzer on the spot or whatever. So they did a blood test, and it took this long for it to come back. And she had a warrant out for her arrest because it was a DUI.
So there's a mug. So imagine you're just like on a Friday or a third. I don't know when this was. And all of a sudden I just get an alert of Mama Plath arrested for DUI after we watched this season of her trying to find herself. And there was even an episode where she had one of her first drinks with her son ever.
Yeah, she started drinking again. And I unfortunately think there is I remember vaguely she talked about there might be alcoholism in her family. So I'm really hopeful we're not like this way, but it also sounds like the freshman who goes to college who never drank before, and now all of a sudden they are drinking and they have no idea what they're doing.
But see, this is what happens when you live under a rock and you've chosen to not live with actual society, that then society happens to you and you're not prepared for it. And now you have a sad mugshot. And I need Barry's reaction on this.
None of them have released a statement. I looked.
Nobody's Instagram, nothing.
No one has said anything.
Oh my God.
It's been 3 days. So I'm kind of surprised that no one has, not even her. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake, nothing.
And it's wild because a lot of the kids have moved out, but a lot of the kids are still at home. And there was the saddest scene in one of the episodes this past season where the girl was like, "Mommy, why are you staying when you're the one that wants to leave Daddy?"
Yeah. And Barry, definitely, they're both the two most manipulative parents. And I feel, I wonder how the kids who still live at home feel. I wonder how those who've moved out and don't, some of the kids don't even speak to her. So I wonder how they're not going to go tubing down the river anytime soon together. I don't think
they were all homeschooled by Kim, and she seems like she has limited knowledge. So you know what I'm saying? She seems great, but she taught him band and dance. And there are so many things. And cause the one son, is completely mad at her. Mom, you did not prepare me for life. You did not prepare me for her. You didn't prepare me for anything. And that's why it's so fascinating, because it turns our normal Bravo thing on its head, where it's this is frighteningly, you can tell it's so real. It's definitely a few times feels a little scripted, but then they really have these real moments. This past season, they went to a strip club, and I even got my husband to watch that episode with me, and the two of us were absolutely cracking up. It was so funny how uncomfortable they were, and they just had no idea what to do. And he was very drunk on camera, Micah, and it was such a great reality TV moment of them going to the strip club in Tampa, which I went to college in Tampa at Mars. 3000 is I hear Tampa has some of the best strip clubs out there.
It does, and that's they picked a good one to go to, because
so I not Micah, but the son that's married. I'm blanking on their names. Ethan, yeah. So Ethan, you guys told this story last season where they didn't have TV or anything like that, and they went on vacation, and there was a TV in the room that he was staying at, or in the place and he snuck up early to watch TV. And I think the only movie that they had was Casablanca. And he was fixated on Casablanca because he had never seen a movie before in his life. Imagine that. We're so addicted to our TVs and our stories and our shows. Imagine never seeing that. And then as a 13 or 14-year-old being plopped down in front of a TV. It would be like magic.
Yeah. They also find fascinating is that there's an oldest daughter who has never been on the show. She's some violinist, and I just always wonder, where is she at? Because
isn't she a professional violinist?
I think so. And they don't even say her name, no mention of her. So I would love to know.
Well, do you remember in the Osbournes how the one daughter Amy was never in the Osbournes?
I do remember. Yeah.
It's a little different, I guess, because they're the Osbournes, but
I do remember finding that out, and that was shocking. I was there's another child.
Yeah, I know. I was like, they don't want to be a part of this empire.
It's the Rob Kardashian.
You know what's so funny about Rob Kardashian too is that he really is now truly looked at as like a folk hero of like he's the one that got away, and it's like no, he just like is lazy. Like
Yeah,
you know,
basically.
like people are like no, he made the right decision. It's like no, he's just a lazy dude. Like
Yeah.
the other thing and trigger warning I want to bring up too is the other thing that I keep you know, especially with Kim having the DUI and this season of Discovery and stuff, is that, you know, obviously I think that she is dealing with, and admittedly, so a lot of pain still, because this didn't happen on the show, but before the show is she ran over one of her children with the car and killed a
None of
child.
them dealt with that at all. And that basically broke the family, as they say. And yeah, it's truly a horrible thing that happened. And none of them, they're ultra religious. They did not go to therapy.
No,
They
therapy is wrong in religious households sometimes, but like that's why this show actually is so weird, like so weirdly good, is because I don't even think that was in the first episode. Like that was like kind of casually mentioned, or you would look up article and you're like, oh, like they'll just drop information like that where you're like, oh, now it makes sense how you guys act and why you guys act the way you do.
Yeah, for 2 years, Kim and Ethan's wife, Olivia, you know, they didn't speak and we had no idea why. And it wasn't until this last season that we actually learned it had to do with like money and charging things on her husband's credit card and a lot deeper layers that, you know, they didn't share prior, and you kind of left you wondering. And now we learned so much.
Do you think they're filming right now?
I pray that they are I pray to whatever God they pray to. They are filming.
Yeah, do we even know what religion they're actually even are? They are? Because he goes to work all day too. Like Barry actually goes to a job every day, which I always wonder about. Like, let's get his co-workers on this thing.
I don't know. I guess they're Christian. I'm Jewish, so the whole thing always confuses me.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I just can't even imagine though. Barry leaves that house and goes into the real world every day, and then comes back to his refuge. What do you think? What do you hope and think you'll see on this next season? Because we'll see the DUI storyline potentially. Are we going to see Kim and Barry date other people? Like, what does divorce look like? Like, do they rekindle? Like, what do you think will happen?
I think we would see Kim date other people.
Yeah.
I don't think Barry would. Because Kim was trying to get it in with her guy, the trainer
guy, but the trainer kind of seemed like gay to me a little bit. Like, well, no, I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's just like because there was one weird look where, and then I was like, because Barry was like, "Look at you, stud," or something, and I was like, "Barry, what are you, Barry? What's going on here?"
I don't know. You know, I like to see reconciliation. I want to follow more of Micah's stories. He just like floats on couches in LA. Like, yeah, I am fascinated by him.
And he's getting acting opportunity, or he's getting audition opportunities, but he's just, and that's what's so charming too about the kids is that they really are kind of like sponges, and they're just so happy. Well, not happy, but they're just want experiences. They kind of eat it up, you know, like in the first season we got to watch, you know, him, was it, Ethan drink liquor for the first time, but he just wanted the sweet liquor, you know.
Yeah,
like
it gives like naive Vanderpump Rule vibes of like their crappy house in Tampa, like sleeping on couches. Like I enjoy watching.
And that's what's sad. The further it goes on, though, is that we're starting to see them start to get jaded, like we all are. You know, like where you're like, oh my god, one day they're going to be really jaded, and one dude's going to be sleeping with everything that moves. You know.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting too, because then there's the other daughter who's finally 18, who's super, super religious. And guys, what happens,
she was so happy because she has a prayer closet like this one, and she's like, darling, but like she's like, God, what am I, old man, darling? She's like, she really is darling.
Sweet. That's the
she
only
really is sweet. She's like the sweetest person, and she like at her house, she has her own personal prayer closet, and she's so thankful for it. And she goes in there and she prays for everybody, and it's like I want things to be good for her so much, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, I hope they're filming. I could watch the show forever. I find them fascinating.
Okay, so Brands by Bravo, you recommend this even though it is not Bravo. So This is the one Bravo show that you are recommending to the audience, and you feel confident even being Brands by Bravo with a rewatch podcast on New York, right?
Yes. I was outside of like, you know, I watch Netflix reality shows, but
you're like If I find out you're watching anything but that show and Bravo, I'm going to be ticked off.
Plathville on TLC, I think it's the only. I know people like 90 Day Fiance and whatnot.
It's too much. It's too much.
I don't have the time. I also watch The Bachelor. But Plathville, I will make the time. Oh, you watch The
Bachelor?
Yeah, that's been like my entire life.
I feel like you need to get rid of The Bachelor. I feel like
I've been watching that since I was like 10 years old with my mom, since like early seasons of Bachelor and Bachelorette.
Dude, when I shot a commercial with Claire Crawley last week. And
she's happily engaged. Did you see her ring?
Yeah, she was showing it everywhere. And we had to have a conversation about, she was telling me all these stories about like recently past boyfriends, like this one boyfriend from high school just reached out to her. And she was telling me how, like, when she first became the Bachelorette, everybody was reaching out to her. Like all of a sudden out of the blue, everybody from high school wanted to talk to her again and stuff. And like,
that doesn't surprise me. I'm very happy. He seems like someone who doesn't care at all about being famous.
He doesn't.
All we have wanted forever is for Claire to find someone to love, because she has been on the show many, many, many times.
Dude, and you can tell, like, it's like these people, it's like, you can tell they're like, not stunted, but they're jolted by the experience. Like, she's just like, I'm so glad. I'm just so happy to not have to go back on the show. Like, she was the nicest person. Okay. So just as we wrap up here, I want to remind people though about the podcast. So say the name one more time.
Yeah, it's Real Housewives of Rewatch, and we're rewatching.
Who do you host this with?
Sue Funk at the Sue Funk. She's a comedian. And
wait, Sue Funk. I was like, Sue Funk. I thought you were like at the Sue Funk dance class. I was like, oh, you were giving her handle. I was like, at the Sue Funk. What is that? Yeah. Okay. At Sue Funk. Okay.
And and then my Instagram and TikTok is at Brands by Bravo.
And so you're doing first season of New York.
We're on season 2, but we did season 1 already.
So how many episodes are in season 1 in New York?
Season 1 is like 8 episodes and the reunion. And it's not a great season. Season 1, it's not great.
So season 2 is when it really picks up.
Yes. We just watched the episode and just recorded this week of You're Here and I'm Here with Kelly and Bethany. And that was fantastic to rewatch.
Okay, so you guys go subscribe. I didn't really think I know this was out there. So this is good that you guys know this, because this is the past. And also that way you can go back and watch these old episodes and then listen and like rewatch and stuff. And it's a fun way to actually remind yourself how good Roni was and is, to a degree, and why we always love it so much. And it'll prep you for hopefully, Roni Legends, whenever that, or Roni, whatever we're calling it with that.
Yeah, it's been over a year since Roni's been on. So, that's kind of where we were like, we missed them. And that's where the idea started from.
Well, you're doing the Lord's work out there. I thank you so much for all of because she really does have an account, you guys, where you actually get information from. So always go to her for actual information.
Thanks,
like I'll make up posts and stuff like that and be silly, but she's funny, but you get actual information. So go check out the pod, do that. Thank you. You are welcome back anytime. And wait, you know what we should do when they do the season premiere? We got to recap the season premiere.
Yes, absolutely. You're the person every time there's a Plathville thing, I tag you because I know you're the one who watches
it. We got to recap the season premiere. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan.